We often think heroism happens in sunlight, with cameras close by. But Grenfell's story unfolded in darkness, in whispered plans through smoke-filled halls. It wasn't about grand gestures. It was about minutes, choices, breaths. If you've ever wondered where the line between fear and bravery lies, this story will show you. Because courage at Grenfell was not loud. It was quiet, deliberate, and real. What if the safest place in your home became the most dangerous in under an hour? That night began like countless others across London. Quiet streets, windows lit one by one, people drifting towards sleep without a thought for what could go wrong. Inside Grenfell Tower, the hum of daily life had settled. A football match replayed on someone's television. A hallway door clicked shut. In flat 16, a fridge freezer, worn but still working, became the starting point of something the building was never prepared to face. At 0:50, smoke began to rise, thin at first, then thicker, as plastic and insulation heated far faster than anyone realized. In most towers, a small kitchen fire could be controlled, isolated, starved of oxygen by the very compartments that made up the building. That faith in the design was exactly what residents were told to rely on. Fire doors would close automatically. Reinforced concrete floors would hold the flames back. The tower, in theory, would protect itself. But theory collapses when the materials themselves betray the promise. The first spark leapt outside, a movement so small that it was nearly invisible in the night air. The fire reached the cladding, installed to modernize the facade, just a few years earlier. Layers of aluminum, a thin core of plastic, and behind it, insulation meant to conserve energy. Together, those layers formed something no one expected. A vertical channel for heat and air, a chimney in disguise. Within moments, the fire wasn't crawling outward, it was racing upward, pulled by its own oxygen supply, turning a single apartment blaze into an inferno climbing floor by floor. That was the moment when trust began to melt away, not metaphorically, but literally. Steel expanded, aluminum blistered, confidence dissolved. A routine fire had exposed the depth of systemic neglect, choices made to save money, decisions left unchallenged, tests misplaced or misunderstood. One spark had found every flaw waiting to be discovered. And as the flames climbed, the night turned into a test of belief, whether to follow the rules or to break them in order to survive. At first, firefighters responded exactly by the book. They climbed through smoky stairwells, expecting the fire to remain in one area, ready to contain it. Residents were told through calls and loudspeakers to remain where they were, to trust that help was coming. But the expected rhythm of response began to falter within minutes. Calls multiplied, voices wavered. On upper floors, people reported unbearable heat, even with doors closed. Smoke that should never have entered flats appeared in thick rolls through vents and broken seals. Down below, firefighters began realizing that visibility was disappearing faster than their equipment allowed. Communication lines crackled and broke. Orders met delays. What should have been a measured evacuation plan turned into a series of improvisations. Commanders gathered information that no longer made sense. Flats, thought to be safe, were burning. People who followed the rules found themselves trapped beyond reach. The procedure held for as long as reason allowed it to, until it became clear the rules themselves were now part of the danger. Shortly before 3 in the morning, the official stance began to shift. This was not a command that came cleanly or easily. It was the moment where professionals who had trained their entire lives to respect protocol began relying on instinct. They knew the building was no longer following the pattern of safety it was built for. Firefighters started urging people to leave if they could. Residents who saw flames licking at their windows decided to run for the stairwell, carrying children under arms, guiding neighbors through darkness. Inside those stairs, firefighters faced something closer to blindness than vision. Their masks clouded almost instantly. Radios struggled to pierce the static of breaking materials. They followed hose lines like lifelines, crawling through air so hot it softened boot soles. Communication failed, but teamwork found new form in touch and instinct. A human chain became the system, each rescuer guiding the next, marking a path the way memory replaces a map when sight is gone. In some flats, they found more people than expected. Entire families gathered in corners, air thinning fast. One team sent for a single resident discovered 8 waiting inside. Each rescue became a negotiation with time, heat, and oxygen. Out of every doorburst, choices no manual could prepare them. For who could be carried now? Who could hold a little longer? Who might still have a chance above? The weight these firefighters carried wasn't just physical. Every floor demanded a decision about risk and reward, keep climbing, or retreat to refill air tanks that barely lasted half an hour. Many chose to keep going, making ascent after ascent, even as heat scorched their gloves. When standard rescue lines burned away, they used anything available: curtains, cords, even fire hoses turned into guides to find their way back. That night proved something no structure can guarantee. Real heroism isn't defined by command or medals. It's visible only when fear meets empathy, and empathy wins. And as the last of those stairwell rescues ended, the city below began to reckon not just with who had survived, but with the systems that had quietly relied on their courage all along. When the flames fade, what remains is meaning. Survivors, families, and first responders turned grief into steady work campaigns for safer homes, memorials built with care, reforms written from pain. Healing came slowly through counseling, quiet vigils, and long-term support that tended unseen scars. The planned demolition of the tower carries both closure and duty to remember, not erase. Courage didn't end that night, it transformed into persistence. In every person still demanding safety and justice, true change begins when silence ends. Resilience, once awakened, outlasts failure. The quiet heroes of Grenfell remind us compassion is the strongest structure we can build.